The App State Chancellor is stepping down. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Appalachian Weekly News. I'm Luke Simpson.
And I'm Nick Ragone. One of the high country's most traveled roads remains closed. We'll have these stories and more as we fill you in on news and information in the high country of North Carolina. A big story that affects many of us on the mountain is the rock slide on one of our main thoroughfares in the high country. So if you're looking to take Highway 321 down to Lenoir, Hickory, or even Charlotte, you'll have to find another way. The detour for those going up or down the mountain is using Blackberry Road, which is a small, partially dirt gravel road that is very narrow. The road includes a tunnel, passable by no larger than a pickup truck. In fact, many larger vehicles have gotten stuck on Blackberry Road as people try to bring supplies up and down the mountain. The rock slide occurred on Thursday, April 11th, just south of Blowing Rock on 321. And while a lot of the debris has been cleared from the road itself, the main concern is reportedly 3 boulders still on the mountain that the crew may need to remove before the highway can reopen. There's also been a lot of discussion about a house on the hill adjacent to the highway directly above where the rock slide has occurred. When the highway will reopen remains to be seen.
Well, first of all, it's clearing the materials. That's kind of the process. It's clearing the materials, but also assessing the situation because just for safety purposes of the vehicles and the crew that are working there, you want to make sure that the slopes are stabilized and nothing else is going to come down. And so that's kind of why it's taken the time that it has.
App State has named an interim chancellor. Current provost and executive vice chancellor Heather Norris takes over for Sherry Everts after the former chancellor officially stepped down. Everts included in her statement to the university that she has been experiencing serious health challenges and she will now focus on her personal well-being. Sherry Everts spent 10 years as the App State Chancellor after being hired in 2014. Everts was a part of many big changes at App State, most notably the addition of the Hickory campus in 2023. More recently, there has been a swirl of controversy around the App State administration after the Wayhaw incident and the renovation of the expression tunnels. AWN spent some time talking to students about what they think of Chancellor Everts' resignation and legacy at App State.
A trail of destruction. She made a series of terrible decisions this semester that's going to leave her in a not very fond memory with the people of App State.
Regardless of the work that maybe she's done over the several years that she's been in her position, she's really leaving off this past year and really past few months on a really bad note. We've seen a lot of student protests outside that are just calling for change that hasn't been answered with any real visible answer. And I think that dissatisfaction is probably the most visible aspect of her legacy that she's leaving behind.
The person charged in the stabbing incident on the campus of App State University is back home residing with his parents after being released on $250,000 bond. App State student Emmett Cardwell was arrested and charged with the felony crime of assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill, inflicting serious injury. Police say on April 11th, he stabbed a fellow student and then fled the scene with another individual. They were eventually stopped at a local hotel by Boone and App State PD. As of the recording of this show, AWN still has no update on the condition of the victim or the fate of the other person the police were investigating. Cardwell is slated to stand in court on the 23rd of May. Now, days later, for students and faculty, life is back to normal at Peacock Hall, even if it is just a little different.
It was a little bit weird, but it wasn't like someone just randomly stabbing someone else. It was kind of 2 people involved, and there's disagreement, I guess. And I see why some people still need to be, or feel the need to be a little more cautious.
It's definitely an eye-opener. Make me watch my surroundings a little bit more, especially since the majority of my time I'm in this building and taking naps on the bench. So definitely going to be a little bit more mindful of the situations and my surroundings.
Yeah, a little bit strange. I've not dwelled on it by any means, but yeah, I've been thinking about it a little bit.
Another developing story. The UNC Board of Governors passed a proposal that would repeal diversity and inclusion regulations for the UNC school system. The vote will occur in May. AWN correspondent Jenna Dunning looked more into these changes and what they could mean for App State students and faculty.
Pride Week, a week in April dedicated to celebrating the LGBT community at App State, now has a new name, Spirit Week. In addition to that, all drag-related school events are canceled, and according to Inside Higher Ed, 4 LGBTQ staff members from App State were fired within the last year. With changes like these, the means for self-expression is being limited at App State.
I'm an art student as well as a drag queen. So my freedom of expression is being completely taken away from me. I'm studying art, and drag is my chosen art form that I've come to this college to represent and to learn more about, and I'm being told that that's invalid.
If there hasn't been any legislative pressure from the state government, why has App State put these restrictions in place? Sources from outside the university are asking the same question. Teen Vogue reports that App State admin claims the rebrand, cancellations, and firings are unrelated, but students are skeptical.
It comes down to App State admin being scared of similar anti-DEI legislation that we're seeing in other states. And it's super unfair to do things that way because, first of all, there is no legislation in place currently.
This issue may seem isolated since it impacts a small demographic in Boone, but restrictions like this should not be taken lightly.
This is a matter of life and death for queer people in this town. I found all of my support system here in town through doing drag, and I'm really scared to see what will happen to queer people if they aren't allowed to find other like-minded people, or if they're told that who they are is dangerous or at risk of losing funding.
I would be nowhere without drag. Like, drag saved my life, and I say that with like such conviction because I'm so proud of what I've put out there.
The well-being and job security of the queer community in Boone is on the line. Inside Higher Ed also reported that 2 of the former employees said they weren't told why they were fired because North Carolina is an at-will state.
I currently am so embarrassed and disappointed to be graduating with an Appalachian State degree because I feel like I have put in my heart and soul into this university and community, and now the door is being shut onto all of us as so many of us are leaving.
A lot more to come here on AWN. In fact, are you ready to get eclipsed?
I must say I am. We climbed up Grandfather Mountain for an event of a lifetime that you'll have to see to believe.
Just make sure to bring your safety glasses. Viewers could not believe their eyes as a rare solar eclipse took place recently. Our correspondent Dylan Henson traveled to the lofty heights of Grandfather Mountain to witness the stunning solar spectacle from a mile high.
We are here today for the solar eclipse at Grandfather Mountain. What better place to be than one of the highest peaks around? So folks are here today to take part in some of the educational programming that we've had that have talked about the eclipse.
On Monday, April 8th, park guests gathered at Grandfather Mountain for a once-in-a-lifetime spectacle. During this time, parkgoers were given opportunities to learn and witness the partial solar eclipse.
What is a solar eclipse? It is basically the moon during the day goes between Earth and the sun, and it casts a shadow. We have probably one of the best views of the eclipse, weather permitting. That we have no control over, but as you can see behind me, we have great elevation out on Linville Peak, pretty much unobstructed views, so it is fabulous. And this eclipse is amazing because many people remember the 2017 total eclipse, depending on where you were in the US. However, this eclipse is visible to many more major cities and many more states, so millions more people are able to see this eclipse.
But it isn't just the park staff and guests from the local area that's involved. I spoke with several out-of-towners who came across the U.S. to experience the celestial alignment.
We are vacationing in the area, and we actually left home to get away from the crowds for the eclipse, but we're from near Cleveland, Ohio. It was actually a coincidence that we ended up here. We rented a cabin in Banner Elk, and we were looking for day trips, and this kind of fell into place, and it was just coincidental.
We had planned to come to this area on vacation. It wasn't so much the eclipse, but then it turned out that the eclipse was here, so we wanted to get to the highest point.
After all was said and done, residents experienced the partial solar eclipse. What made this event so special was looking up at the sky and sharing the moment with the people around you.
Wet lines and smiling faces. The 44th Blowing Rock Trout Derby went off without a snag here in the high country. There were two main ways to participate with the catch and release and traditional options. This way, every type of fisherman could compete at the event. Multiple age ranges also meant that there was more opportunity to clean up at the award ceremony at the end of the day. If you were lucky enough to catch a fish, unlike our AWN reporter Hunter Boston, you could win prizes like cold hard cash, fishing gear, goodie bags, and plaques while standing on the final podium. Even if you didn't have much luck at the Trout Derby, the quality time spent with friends and family on the water meant no one truly went home empty-handed.
A group of small business owners in the area came together and wanted to put together a day to really get kids fishing. It's a really great thing for the community, and it really speaks to the dedication and sacrifice of a lot of the guys here. It's just really cool hearing the people who started it. It's cool to hear them talk about these kids that they saw that were 5 years old are now coming with their kids who are 5 years old. So it's a generational event at this point, and it has a lot of history, and it means a lot to a lot of people, and people come from all over the place to do it. So it's pretty special.
If you want to scratch your competitive itch but would rather stay inside, you can do so with tabletop games and cards at Dragon's Den. AWN reporter Luke Baker went to this high country business to check it out.
Cards flipping, figurines sliding across the table, and keyboards typing. Welcome to Dragon's Den, nestled in the heart of the high country, located behind the mall on Greenway Road in Boone. It's a safe haven for tabletop players alike. This store is more than just a place to buy cards and figurines. It's a community where passions collide and friendships are made.
Seeing the newcomers coming in, getting into the different games, whether they're students that have been playing for years or whether they're coming in and just wanting to learn how to play this game or that game, and being able to help out where I can.
As you step inside, the iconic Dragon's Den sign catches your eye. A beacon for tabletop players from far and wide. Inside, shelves are lined with an impressive stock of various cards, figurines, and collectibles, each holding a story of its own.
Dragon's Den's more than just a store, it's a name. There's been a Dragon's Den in Boone on and off for the last 2-3 decades. It was around back in the 90s, and then, it got sold off a couple times, then went defunct, and then I brought it back in 2018. And overall, it seemed to have a pretty positive response from most everybody.
So whether you are a seasoned pro or just starting your tabletop journey, come experience the fun magic and make friends along the way here at Dragon's Den. There is always room for one more adventurer in this epic tale.
If tabletop games and playing cards aren't your thing, don't worry, we've got you covered.
We'll tell you all about a movie classic turned into a theatrical musical at App State University.
It's something that might scare you, but that's not always bad. It's pretty good. Here at the George G. Beasley Media Complex at App State, it's pretty normal to hear music playing in the halls of 90.5 WASU. But on one rainy and cold evening recently, the music wasn't coming from the airwaves. AWN correspondent Lucas Warren and some of our AWN staff has more on the story.
This is Battle of the Bands. 7 local bands competing for a $250 top prize and title of Best Band in Boone. The event was hosted by 90.5 WASU, the student radio station on App State's campus. The station focuses on alternative rock music, but surprisingly, that doesn't include much local music. Until now.
But I definitely wanted to be a lot more hyper-local as a station. And then our music director, Pixie, had been trying to get something off the ground. I had the perfect position to just jump on and really make something happen with it.
What started as an idea turned into a reality. And though the weather was cold, vendors and fans still showed out. So each band was sure to bring the heat on stage.
Feeling great. The energy people put out tonight. I didn't think I'd see a mosh pit at the parking garage here, but we got one, so we're pretty stoked.
That was 2,000% better than it could have been. Thank you, Boone.
Especially with this shout out the Boone scene.
Once the performances ended, the top 3 bands made their way down Howard Street for the finale of the Battle of the Bands at South End Brewing Company.
Once inside, bands and fans alike were able to dry off and let loose, with The Weasels, Only Alibis, and Monkey Mode rocking the venue. Though all three bands played their hearts out, only one came out on top.
Wow, amazing!
We did not expect this, but we're happy to be
We're
here.
thankful. We're thankful for the community. Yeah, seriously.
The Battle of the Bands was officially over, but the event as a whole may have just begun.
I would love for this to continue beyond this year. This is very unique what we have at WASU. We reach a really wide range of people, and a lot of it is App State people. And so giving them an outlet that they can come back to even after they've left Boone, I think is really cool, and that's a special thing that we can offer them.
Battle of the Bands was a heck of a time, but Luke, there are still so many fun things to do in the high country. The first stop I'm making is at the Talking Film Service Club in Ashe County, which is currently open. And if you want to get outside for a good cause, the BRC campus is hosting an Earth Day cleanup on April 22nd.
And if you want to celebrate good deeds, the Mountain Boomer is having an open mic night on the same day. And if you missed this one, don't worry. The Mountain Boomer hosts this event every Monday at 5:30, and I will be showing up. And don't forget, Merle Fest returns to Wilkes on April 25th. Artists such as Nickel Creek, Larkin Poe, and the Dan Kaminsky Band will be playing at the festival.
You know, I've heard a lot about this Merle Watson guy. Maybe I'll have to check that out, Luke. In May, the Loose Roosters alongside Real Companion put on a show at the Appalachian Theater. And on May 3rd, the First Friday Art Crawl returns to King Street in Boone as well.
I was given the opportunity to get an inside look at the App State's theater and dance department's Carrie the Musical. This musical is all fun and games until you get thrown up against a wall at your high school prom by a girl that you've been bullying. Why don't you take a look?
The story of Carrie is about this girl who grows up in a household that's very religious, and she gets bullied a lot in school. The kids who just come after her and make fun of her, like, it really gets to her, but she finds out that she has telekinesis, and through finding this out, she harbors these powers to take revenge on all the people that bullied her and made fun of her.
Carrie is someone who's underestimated. Carrie is alone. She definitely has a lot more potential to be a person that people would want to be around, and she doesn't get that.
It's not necessarily based around Carrie. Carrie, she is the protagonist, but you do kind of see this powerful arc for her that, I mean, it ends badly, but she does start to gain her self-confidence in it, so you feel wow, you're doing a really good job.
Miss Gardner's perception of Carrie starts, and it's almost kind of like what the rest of the students feel about Carrie. It's just kind of she's there, she's frustrating everybody, and then her perception does change, and towards the end of the show, she's just miraculously proud and happy and almost like a maternal figure.
Carrie and her mother she is not there for her. She is there to kind of get what she wants. We have a dynamic in rehearsal where obviously the mother is very overbearing and she's very aggressive.
Margaret is definitely spouting scripture a lot. That's mainly the only thing she says. Once she's in that state, it's okay, don't want to mess with her.
Valeria and I kind of, every time we get done with the scene, we'll just go off and we'll say something sweet to each other so that we can make sure that we don't have to deal with how difficult it is the whole process of the show.
It can be hard, but stepping out of it is easier, especially with the crew. They kind of help you de-roll out of it.
We have a practice called de-rolling. So you'll go in, you'll do your rehearsal, you're that character, I am Carrie from 6:30 to 10 p.m. every night. And when you're done doing scenes like that, especially the more intense scenes like the throwing of items and some of the combat scenes, you take yourself out of it at the end of the day and you say, while I was this character, I was, and you list some characteristics about the character, and then you say, as Isabella, I am not going to do these things.
It's not really necessarily anything that's kind of planned out, but usually it just kind of naturally happens. There's just when there's a lot of tension in the room, and the second we kind of finish, then we all laugh and make jokes about it, and there's lots of inside jokes about the lines, and it kind of lightens up the mood a little bit for the actor.
The way that combat works is there's usually something that, like a barrier, like a hand or a shoulder, and then there's a nap. So the nap is the sound that the audience hears during the action that makes them think oh, you just got smacked. So with the Bible scene, for instance, the magic of theater is we'll turn it upstage, so I'll be facing the back. And when she takes the Bible, my hand is here. So the Bible hits and knocks my hand, and that's the nap, makes that really loud noise. So to the audience, I'm getting hit across the face and I'm falling. But to Valeria, she's just smacking me with the Bible. She does have to cup the Bible. My hand is getting hit. So that hurts a little bit, and you kind of have to brace yourself for that, but it's a lot less impactful than if she was actually slapping me across the face with the Bible. Sometimes, especially in like the combat scenes or the prom scene, like, oh, what if something goes wrong and someone like falls forwards when they're trying to hit me and actually hits me? Or what if the thing that falls out of the ceiling falls off track and lands on my head? So there's always that like, oh, something could go wrong, but I've been doing theater for a really long time, so you kind of prepare yourself, and if something happens, the show must go on.
It's such an amazing show. Even the movies that were made, they're so well known that I'm like, who doesn't know Carrie?
I don't know if y'all, I'm so excited for this musical. If you want to see this musical, go ahead and on April 24th through the April 28th at the Valberg Theater. All performances starting at 7 p.m. You can buy tickets in advance at www.theateranddance.appstate.edu. This musical is going to be phenomenal, y'all. I cannot wait for people to be able to see it.
You know, I'm really excited for it. I've actually never seen the movie, but, you know, maybe I'll go check the musical out. Anyway, from a show on the stage to a show on the court, after the break, we introduce you to a local high school basketball player gathering national attention. App State Soccer set a goal in more ways than one for a productive spring, playing many exhibition matches against local universities. AWN reporter Cody Bear is currently at the Appalachian Soccer Stadium where a massive match took place.
Thanks, guys. App State's spring soccer season has come to an end. The Mountaineers spent much of the spring playing exhibition matches here right behind where I'm standing at the Valley. One of those matches was circled in red ink when the University of North Carolina came to town.
I just told the team this was an awesome opportunity for us tonight, for us to get better collectively, but also individually. We're all going to have film to watch and take away some positives and some things to work on.
App State Soccer spent their final home exhibition match playing against the team that finished 8th in the country at the end of last year. Exhibition or not, the Mountaineers invited a powerhouse soccer program into Boone, and the black and gold showed out for the occasion.
We had a great environment tonight. I think a lot of the Boone community came out, a lot of students out here tonight. Love to see that, especially for a spring game, how much support and just interest there is in our program out here playing, you know, a really good team.
We cheer on the sidelines, but the cheering behind us was so great and really helped push us through. It was amazing to look back and see everybody.
With the Mountaineers' spring season now over, their attention is firmly planted on the fall. Back to you in the studio.
The weather is finally starting to cooperate here in the mountains, which means that it's a beautiful time to talk about sports in the high country. From April 22nd to April 25th, App State men's golf heads to Madison, Mississippi for the Sun Belt Tournament. On April 24th and 25th, App State women's tennis heads to Rome, Georgia for the Sun Belt Tournament.
Yeah, I don't know much about sports, but let's see what I can do. On April 25th, Watauga baseball hosts West Wilkes, while Watauga softball heads down the mountain to face East Burke. On April 26th and 27th, Lee's McRae men's and women's track and field teams head to Myrtle Beach for the Conference Carolinas Outdoor Championship.
From May 2nd to May 5th, App State hosts 2 series on the Diamond as App State softball takes on Georgia Southern and Mountaineer baseball plays South Alabama.
Alora Sharp is the new head coach for the App State women's basketball team, donning a new age for the program. Sharp joins the team after spending the past 6 seasons at Presbyterian in South Carolina. Sharp just last season took the Blue Hose women's basketball team to a program record 21 wins, along with the Big South Championship and the program's first NCAA tournament berth and win. Now Sharp's focus is on App State, who for the first time in a decade will have a new face at the helm. With fans and players alike, all eyes turn to the new head coach and what she could bring to the table here in the high country.
It's an opportunity of a lifetime. I think just being at a place that really supports their athletics and being able to recruit student athletes to a beautiful place where there's so much opportunity for them on campus, off campus, and even in their futures. And to build a championship program and to put my stamp on App State women's basketball.
Superstar is not a word to be used lightly, but it is the only word that can be used to describe Watauga High School's own Kate Sears. She is currently being recruited by more than 30 D1 basketball programs, including powerhouses like Clemson and Virginia Tech being announced this week. AWN reporter Jacob Woowert sat down with her to talk about life, basketball, and everything in between.
I've always lived in Boone my whole life. Growing up here in the small town, close-knit community has been the only thing I'm used to. Just growing up with the same people, playing basketball with the same core group helped me and obviously helped our team with being so successful.
Since she was young, basketball has always been a passion for Kate Sears. Now a junior, Sears has been playing with a core group of friends since she was in grade school. And sometimes it wasn't just with the girls.
I think when I started playing travel ball, I played with the boys at first because there wasn't a girls team, and so kind of doing that I think helped me realize like, okay, I can compete with them, like I can compete with the girls too. That was in like 3rd grade, but when I got older into middle school was really when I started taking it serious. I guess weird at first just because I was so young. I hadn't played on other travel teams before, so it was kind of like my first travel experience. Looking back, like a bunch of those boys play on the boys team now, or some of my friends, it was definitely good for me because they're more athletic, they're quicker and stuff. Being able to compete with them just made me realize like, okay, if I can compete with these guys my age, I can definitely compete with girls my age and even some girls that are older than me.
One of the boys is fellow classmate at Watauga High and a 3-sport athlete, Maddox Green.
I mean, Maddox was one, and then just seeing them like growing up with me and just kind of seeing where they've gone on to do with sports and what I'm doing. We were all very competitive in practice even though we were in 3rd grade. It was really cool, and I think it was definitely very helpful to all of us to kind of experience that. And it was weird for me because I was the only girl and we didn't play against any other girls, and so it's kind of like, oh, there's a girl on that team, but it was really cool and fun. I'm glad I did it. It was a good position for me to be in and definitely helped me in the future.
From that early age, Kate Sears has been a baller, and now with the recruiting spotlight firmly shined upon her, people want to know a whole lot more.
Kate Sears is a competitor. I think anything I do, whether it's like on the court, in the classroom, whatever it is, like I'm always wanting to win. I'm always wanting to do the best I can do. I don't know if other people would say that about me, but I think that's something that's the first thing that comes to my mind because I always want to do my best. I want to get first place. I want to win, and whatever that is. We want to go back to the Final Four. We want to try to get a state championship. I think for me and the girls that I've played with for a long time, like the upcoming seniors, we know what we're capable of now. Charlotte Catholic, who's knocked us out the last 2 years, their seniors are gone. And so we know that, and we know we have people coming up that can help, and we're not losing a ton of people, but we think we hopefully have people that can fill those spots. It's really exciting because we're all going to get better in the off season. And we know what we did this year, and we know we can accomplish just that and hopefully more next year.
With the success comes pressure. In fact, she remains one of the highest recruited players in America.
It's been a lot of different schools, mid-majors all the way to Power Fives. I think now I've definitely narrowed my list more, but I think like this summer I'm still open to new opportunities that might come from new schools this spring with playing. But right now, like Kansas, Purdue, Marquette, those are a few that are really hot on me that are further away, and then obviously there are a lot schools closer like Wake and UNC Charlotte and App State that I'm still interested in. Like I've gone on visits and I've said stuff to my parents like I want to commit, like I want to be done with this and just know where I'm going and not have that stress of playing in front of coaches still and all that. But with the portal now and everyone moving around and then so many coaches every year, like it's a lot of turnover, and kind of just keeping an open mind and not like burning bridges with programs is very important because you don't know where people will end up. And then NIL is just a whole nother situation with that. Schools have definitely like brought that up to me, but for me, like right now, I'm like, I just want to know who you really are, know your culture, and we'll deal with, you know, the money and all that stuff after.
Wow, what a story that is. She has more than 30 D1 schools coming after her.
I think it's a little interesting, and I hope she's handling all that stress still being a junior in high school.
You know, it's been such a phenomenal day to talk about Queens, but how about we send you guys down to King Street?
Obviously, we got to celebrate our Queen Taylor Swift for her recent album drop. A little bit of a shout out to our correspondents here at AWN, Sim Bellantoni and Cody Bear, for celebrating a little harder for her this time.
You know, that's all the time we have for today. Make sure you check us out on socials and have a great night.